welcome everybody. This is the session Farming as a Spiritual Practice, and we're joined by the inspirational Satish Kumar. As I mentioned, my name is Ruby Reed. I'm a co-founder of the transformative education platform Advaya, Eco-Resolution, and a ecosystem restoration charity called Initiative Earth, as well as a trustee of Resurgence Trust. Satish's work was an enormous inspiration on my personal and professional journey, so it really is a huge honor to be here with everyone today. Some quick logistics. The session will be just 45 minutes long and include a 20-minute talk from Satish, followed by 15 minutes for questions. Satish would really like everyone to ask their questions directly, so please write them in the chat as they come to you at any moment. And during the Q&A, I'll invite you to unmute yourselves and ask them directly to Satish. But don't worry if you don't want to speak on the camera, because you're welcome also just to say, I don't want to talk, and I'll read your question out for you. So just mention that in the chat box. So we have lots of time for questions. Please be as succinct as possible. I also want to mention that we'll be joined by Colin Pawson later, who is the head gardener and horticulture specialist at Schumacher College on the Dartington Estate. And he's going to speak for a few moments about the Growers Programme at Schumacher College and the Schumacher Garden. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Satish. So Satish is a former monk and long-term peace and environmental activist who, now in his 80s, has devoted his whole life to campaigning for ecological regeneration, social justice, and spiritual fulfillment. Satish has been setting the global agenda for change for more than 50 years, and he's written many, many books and inspired millions of people around the world. At just 9 years old, he renounced the world to join the traveling Jains, but at 18 decided he could achieve more in the world by campaigning for land reform in the hopes of turning Gandhi's vision of a renewed India and a peaceful world into a reality. So in his 20s, Satish was inspired by the peace activist Bertrand Russell, who at 89 years old was arrested at an anti-nuclear demonstration. And this prompted his 8,000-mile peace pilgrimage from India to Moscow, London, Paris, and America. And traveling with his friend, they carried no money and depended entirely on the kindness of strangers. They delivered humble packets of peace tea to the leaders of the 4 capitals of the nuclear world. And after that, Satish settled in the UK, became editor of Resurgence magazine, founding the Resurgence Trust, and co-founding Schumacher College, which is an amazing powerhouse in ecological thinking for people and for planets. Thank you so much, Satish. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Ruby, and very kind and very generous introduction you have given, much appreciated. And thank you all for joining this session. And I am really honored and delighted to have this privilege of being part of this great Oxford Real Farmers Conference. I think this is one of the most important events of the year, in my view. And so it is a great honor and pleasure to be part of it. I'm going to talk about farming as a spiritual practice, which is a very unusual title. People generally think that we do farming to make some income or produce some food or whatever reason. But farming as a spiritual practice is something very unusual. But I learned it from my mother. My mother in India, in the state of Rajasthan, had a small holding, and she grew lots of wonderful food, particularly many different kinds of local millets, also a lot of fruit, melons, sesame seed, and many other things. But every day she meditated, 48 minutes, that was her time. And she always said that if you practice farming to produce food as a service to humanity, service to people, and service to the land, taking care of the land, because we had inherited this land from our ancestors, and we will hand over this land to our future generations. We are only a kind of bridge between our ancestors who have taken care of the land and the new generation who will take care of the land generation after generation after generation. That was her view. And so I think that if you have that attitude, that you are not here only to make quick profit and big money and a big machinery and just somehow get as much food as possible, rather than only thinking that, have a little broader view that being part of the land, we are part of the land. We are soil ourselves. We are made of the soil. The word human comes from the term in Latin humus. The word humus, if you know, means soil. So human beings are literally soil beings. So we are soil. We are made of the soil. Now, what is more important in soil than the soil practices spirituality itself? Soil never takes care of itself only. Soil produces food for humans, animals, insects, birds, plants, trees, for everybody. Soil is the source of nourishment for all living beings. Now, if we can have that attitude that we are farming to nourish all living beings, that's spirituality. Soil, if you put one seed in the soil, it will multiply. If you put one apple seed in the soil, it will become a tree and will give thousands upon thousands of apples year after year for 50 years or 60 years or whatever the age of the tree is. And how does that tree treat people? With deep spirituality. If you want to learn unconditional love, learn from the apple tree. I have 15 apple trees in my orchard. So I know. I planted those trees 30 years ago. And I have been taking those apples. And abundance. You never know how many apples are there. You cannot count them. You cannot measure them. And so when you go to apple tree, it will never ask you, have you come with a Visa card? Have you come with some money? Never ask you. And no discrimination. It doesn't ask you if you are rich or poor, if you are saint or a sinner. You are educated or uneducated. You are black or white. You are young or old. You are human, animals, birds, insects, whoever you are, have apples. That is spirituality of the tree. That is the unconditional love of the tree. The generosity of the tree. These are the qualities of spirituality. When I talk about spirituality, I don't mean any particular religion. There is a difference between a religious tradition, a theology, where you have certain kind of beliefs in next life or previous life or God or some abstract things. You have certain beliefs. But spirituality, the word spirit comes from breathing. You breathe, then you are inspired. Inspirare. And when you stop breathing, you are expired. So you cannot live without spirituality. So as a tree is generous, kind, unconditional loving, in the same way, a farmer like my mother, and I'm a gardener, I have 2 acres at my own home, but also I'm, as Ruby introduced me, as a co-founder of Schumacher College. At Schumacher College, we have 7 acres of garden. And we have got 1,000 acres of land at Dartington, but we are also teaching farming there, food and farming and agroecology and organic gardening, all those things we teach. So when we teach there, we say, change your attitude towards your farming. It's the attitude, the intention. Why are you on the land? What happens at the moment when there's a materialistic farming, farmers are under great duress, under great stress. There's very little dignity in farming anymore. When you are clever, you are smart, you are educated, you have been to Oxford or Cambridge or Harvard or Yale or big universities of the world, then you don't work on the land. Working on the land is for only those who are not so smart, not so clever, not so highly educated. If you are highly educated and smart and clever, you go and work in an office. Sit in front of a computer, behind a desk. But if you are working in the office, in a bank, or in a business, you will be highly paid. You will be paid maybe £1,000 a day. But if you are a farmer, you are a worker, you are a land laborer, you are working on the land, picking strawberries, picking raspberries, picking apples, harvesting grain and wheat, turning milk around, you will be paid £100 or £200 a day. Very small. So there is a less respect, a less dignity, a less recognition of the importance of farming. And because farmers cannot survive with their farming, government has to give them subsidy. So farmers have become dependent on the government subsidy. We are prepared to pay thousands of pounds and rubles and euros and dollars and whatever money you have for computers and cars and machinery and so on. But we are not prepared to pay for food. The real price, we are not prepared to pay. So therefore, farmers get very depressed. Quite often I meet farmers who are very anxious, who are very down and almost angry sometimes. What kind of treatment they are getting in the society. So what practicing agriculture as a spiritual practice will transform our consciousness and bring our own inner dignity. And we will be doing farming as something, as a service to humanity, service to the land and caring for the land and our own well-being. When you are out in nature, and at the moment, farmers are not really farming anymore. They are machine minders. A lot of farmers are just sitting on big combined harvesters or big tractors and listening to some horrible music or minding some machines or some kind of computer system or something. So I would like my ideal farm, having been born and brought up by my mother on a small holding, my ideal farm will be smaller. 100 acres, 200 acres, 500 acres at the most. And few animals, free range animals. They are grazing on the grass. No factory farm. No animals confined to big factory where they never see the light of the day for their entire life. For me, that is not spiritual farming. Spiritual farming has to have a relationship because spirit is all about relationship. Service is a relationship. Love is a relationship. Kindness and compassion is a relationship. If there's no relationship between farmer and the animals, there's no relationship between farmer and the forest, no relationship between the farmer and the soil, there's no relationship between farmer and the seed, there's no spirituality there. It just becomes a mechanistic, a kind of operation. and a kind of you have to do as a kind of ritual to just survive and make a living. So I would like to lift the level of farming, the spirit of farming higher. Like you are in a church. The real church for me is the field. The real cathedral for me is the forest. And my religion, my nationality is nature. Nature is my religion. Cosmos is my country. Earth is my home. Nature is my nationality. And agriculture is my religion and my spirituality. So if you have that spirit, then you are lifting higher the level of your work. And this is why I did yesterday meditation for the farmers. My mother was a meditator, 48 minutes every day. So I would like to see our farmers going out and then whenever there's a moment, stopping for 1 minute and breathe in and remember your place on this land. We are soil. We are part of the soil. The modern agriculture has separated humans with nature. We think nature is out there, the animals and the trees and the crops and the seeds and the soil is the nature. And we humans are not nature. So you dominate nature, you control nature, and you use nature for just your benefit, by short-term benefit. And this is why we put chemicals and fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides as if soil has no soul. Soil has no spirit. Soil has no consciousness. But in my book and in my consciousness, I believe the soil is a living soil. Like Lady Eve Balfour. I had a great honor of meeting her. She was the founder of the Soil Association. And she wrote the book called The Living Soil. Soil is a living organism. Soil has consciousness. Soil has spirit. Soil has soul. And therefore we need to respect the soil. We are soil. There is no separation between nature and humans. We are as much nature as trees and forests and mountains and rivers and the soil and the animals are nature. The moment we have that sense of unity of life and that unity manifesting in diversity of life, we celebrate diversity. Diversity is not divisions. Diversity is not separation. Diversity is the dance of unity. Diversity is the celebration of unity. Like thousands of flowers blooming. That's a celebration. At the springtime, the apple blossom and the cherry blossom. That's a celebration of the universe. If we can have that consciousness, that poetic consciousness. So for me, every farmer is a poet. Poet is not only the one who can write some beautiful words on a page. Poet is somebody who can make something beautiful. So farm should be beautiful. We have lost that sense of beauty in our farms. Now you go and see thousands of acres of bare land, grassland, monoculture, like a green desert. That cannot be spirituality. So the love of land is spirituality. Respect for land is spirituality. And the dignity of the farmer and respect for the farmer is the most important, more important than a technician, a scientist, an engineer, or a banker or somebody. Because you can survive without a banker, but you cannot survive without a farmer. You can live without money. You can exchange goods mutually, but you cannot survive without food. So the farm and the agriculture, agroecology, that should be at the top of our agenda. And everybody should participate in the process of growing some food. Never mind your Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, or Biden, or Modi. Never mind you are president. Never mind you are king or queen. Fortunately, I'm delighted to say the Prince Charles gardens. Not that he has to garden. He doesn't need to garden. He has a lot of gardeners. He has a lot of money. And yet he gardens. I had a great pleasure of meeting him at High Grove. And I saw him and talked with him. And he gardens. Everybody, whether you are a professor, whether you're a lecturer, whether you're a doctor, whether you're an engineer, scientist, priest, pope, whoever you are, you must touch the soil. Soil is the source of spirituality. That is my conviction. And this is why in this great conference of Oxford's Real Farmers Conference, I would like to put this word in the consciousness and in the dialogue and the deliberations, that gardening and farming and agriculture and agroecology and organic farming are all rooted in this love of the land and a spirit of the land and a respect for the land and respect for the farmer and the gardener. And that respect and that love and that generosity is spirituality. Spirituality is not just going to the church or reading the Bible or Quran or Bhagavad Gita. Spirituality is that love in practice. Farming is love made visible. Through growing food, we show our love for humanity and our love for the land and our love for nature. That is my vision for ecological spirituality, farming as a spiritual practice. And this is why we at Schumacher College practice gardening as a way of life. And I hope that we have Colum in the audience. Are you there, Colum?
Hello, Satish. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. So I would like to welcome you, Colum, and invite you to share that how gardening and farming at Schumacher College can be a way of life. And this is why we need to bring new dignity, and Schumacher College has been practicing this. So please say a few words about Schumacher College gardening program and so on. Colum, over to you.
Thank you, Satish. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see you on the screen.
Right. So yeah, hello everyone. I'm Colin Pawson. I run the horticulture program here at Schumacher College. Here you've got a photo of some of this year's students. There were 16 of them that come and join us every year from April till the beginning of October. And they're out in our main growing field, Henry's Field, which is, like Satish said, our cathedral essentially. And if I go on to the next page, here we go. This is Henry's Field. It's a 5-acre agroforestry field. And this is essentially our classroom, really, where the students come to learn how to grow food. And the main sort of goal of the gardens is to produce food for the college kitchens. But we also are trying to embed an understanding of many different aspects of growing food. So we have the annual veg we grow here in Henry's Field. We've got a forest garden. We have a craft and cut flower garden. We have chickens and ducks in agroforestry settings, a perennial garden and polytunnels. So we're trying to cover lots of different aspects of food growing. So the students, when they come here, they can really get a good grounding and have a better idea of where they want to go when they go back out into the world. Everything we do is embedded with theory. So here I am teaching, talking about our rotation in Henry's Field. So myself and Amy, who also teaches on the course, we cover all the different things that you need to know for food growing, such as seed sowing, using green manures, composting, and so on. And we also have some inspirational teachers come in, and Carolyn Aitken comes and teaches the permaculture course to them. And then by learning from us, the students are then able to go out into the fields and really practice what we've taught them. And we start the 6 months off very much working together alongside them. And as they get more confident, they're able to go out and do the work for themselves. So here we have 2 students, Bailey and Henry, from this year, planting out celeriac in the field in the springtime. And here are some other students having had a theory session with Amy about hot heap composting, having made a compost heap. And you can see there with the little face they put on the front of the compost heap, we are also, while we're doing this, trying to practice some of what Satish talks there and really acknowledge the sort of the deeper and the love, the deeper sides of growing and the spiritual side of it all. And our main sort of goal within the growing we're doing is we're growing food for the college kitchen. So here we are at our annual harvest lunch, and this is what we do in August to celebrate the harvest of the year. We grow all the food, and then we produce a lunch produced purely from the food we've grown, and we cook it over the field, and we bring the college community into Henry's Field and feed them a delicious meal. And that's one of the things that I really love about Schumacher is as Satish was saying, food growing isn't just something we do on the side, it's at the heart of the college. And everyone really comes and celebrates that. And whatever course they're doing, they'll come and do some gardening while they're with us. And it's not just a tokenistic thing, it's seen as being really important to their time here. We do also look at the more commercial side of things. So we do things like, these are two of our students, Henry and Jamila from this year, running our weekly farmers market we do on the Dartington estate. And we also supply a restaurant and a cafe on the estate. So the students get a chance to experience what's needed to produce things on a commercial scale, and all the record keeping and quality control and so on. But the real sort of thing that we really love to focus on is obviously the food and the harvest. And because the students are here for 6 months, they're able to sow the seeds, plant the crops, tend to them, weed them, they'll then harvest them, take a lot of them to the college kitchen, then they'll sometimes be involved with the cooking. The whole community comes together and eats the food that we grow, and then the leftovers are composted. So they're seeing that whole cycle right from the seed back to the soil again. And here we are with our annual garlic harvest. And we like to try and do lots of things like seed saving. So this is, we've been saving garlic every year for quite a few years now. And we're very proud of the fact that the garlic seems to be getting happier and healthier and more productive, because we're able to sort of take back control and have that relationship that Satish was talking about with the food that we grow. And students are also able to take advantage of the plethora of really exciting growing projects that we have in the area around us. So this is Marguerite, one of our students, with Marina O'Connell from the Apricot Centre, and they run a very inspiring biodynamic garden on the estate, actually. So students can pick different projects that they're interested in and go and work with them and really increase their knowledge in those areas that they're interested in. And then here we go, we've got a picture of, just to show the whole college community coming together. So there's as well as doing the growing, the students are able to be a part of college life. And this is our growing students and the Engage Ecology students coming together to grow flax. So the Engage Ecology are studying fibre production and all that goes into it, and our students and them come together and grow the food, grow the flax and then turn it into linen. And this was a real highlight for me this year, was all coming together and harvesting it. So much of farming these days is very insular and people tend to be on their own tractors, but here we are all coming together and harvesting it and having a real celebration at the same time. And I couldn't resist to put this picture in of Satish here. This is our harvest lunch again, just so we're really trying to take time to, as well as celebrating ourselves and the land, we really want to sort of give our thanks to all the food in the land and everything that goes into producing food, excuse me. So like I said, we have our annual harvest lunch and something that was inspired, sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. Something that was inspired by a talk I went to last year at the Oxford Real Farming Conference was this idea that when you produce a crop harvest, the first item of that harvest is given back to the land. And we really tried to do that this year. And in September, sorry, we took one item of everything we harvested and had a little bit of an honouring of the land and just gave thanks to the produce and the soil and all the beings that went into producing those crops. And it's really, I really appreciate the fact, sorry, I've got a hair stuck in my throat, that we're able to take the time to do that. And here we are with our labyrinth. So we try and also celebrate the passing of the seasons. And we made this labyrinth the summer solstice. And this is myself and another student walking the labyrinth in preparation for our summer solstice celebration. And of course, the other thing that I really like to underline is that we try and have a lot of fun. Sometimes people think spirituality and growing is the serious thing, but also it's important to have fun as well. So here we are at our annual Farmers Olympics, where again, we're coming together with the college and celebrating the harvest and all the work that the growing students do. And that was a very whistle-stop tour from me, but I've got a few links here if anyone's interested, which I'll post in the chat. So I've got a link for the practical residency course, the 6-month course. We also do an online sustainable growing course, and we're just starting up a BSc in regenerative food and farming, which has £3,000 bursaries available at the moment. So do check that out if you're interested. Thank you, Satish. Everyone, I'll hand back over to you.
Thank you, Colum, for this wonderful. So what I was speaking was farming as a spiritual practice is not simply a kind of idea. a flaky, wishy-washy idealism. It is a real practice. And this is why Colm has shown you that at Schumacher College, we are actually practicing it in a very real way. And last year, if I'm correct, Colm, we produced 30,000 pounds worth of vegetables. So gardening and farming as a spiritual practice is not just idea. It's real practical thing. And yet you do it with heart, you do it with love, you do it with engagement and with the unity of life and connected with the soil. So I would like to see a new revolution in our thinking, that how humans and land and nature are one, and we can live together sustainably, regeneratively, and for millions of years to come. The economy of nature, the economy of soil, the economy of land is a sustainable economy. But the humans who have created this industrial, mechanized, short-term, polluting, wasteful economy, that economy cannot be sustainable, cannot last forever. So we have to learn from nature. Nature is our teacher. And if we can learn and live spiritually, ecologically, regeneratively, then we have a future for humanity. So I'm so glad that your audience has seen my ideas in practice. I started Schumacher College 30 years ago. And if any of you are interested, we have short courses. We have 6-month-long courses. We have 1-year-long courses. Please look at our website and come and join us and spread the word wherever you are. Thank you. And let's have some questions now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Satish, and also Colm, for sharing. It's been the most inspiring talk. And if I could ever imagine a human truly embodying life as a spiritual practice, with all action as a kind of devotion, like you said, farming is love in action, it would be you, Satish. So I think we could learn so much. There's been so many questions, and I would love also just to highlight a couple of things people put in the chat that aren't questions before we go into that. So Joseph was asking if you could have a cutting of your apples to graft, which I thought was a great idea. Yes. And asked what you used. And Chloe wished that this talk could be broadcast for the whole world to hear. Whereas Jackie spoke about how all different faiths need to unite above difference, so that we can unite together and have a strong voice for life in this way. So to some questions, there's been lots around financial barriers, both to accessing Schumacher College and also to life, to living in this way, where with spirituality at the core. I wonder, quite a few people ask these questions. Perhaps if I spotlight Rachel, you were asking one question. If you're happy to speak, I'll unmute you.
Sorry, I did, but thank you.
I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you again. We met many, many years ago, maybe 20 years ago in Herefordshire, and it's good to see you again. I wrote my question in the chat, and I'm wondering whether I can just read it out, actually, because I put some thought into it. So I wanted to ask, if we farm as a spiritual practice rather than as a source of income, how can we pay the bills? I have taken this approach to my artwork for many years, not wanting to pursue cash for my creativity. However, I spend most of my time in front of a computer as a result, as you pointed out, earning cash to pay the bills. Now I want to find a way of farming, but should I pursue this as a livelihood in pursuit of cash or as a spiritual practice? If the latter, how can I afford to pay rent or a mortgage and feed and clothe my 3 children? I think this is a question that is at once unanswerable, but also there is an easy answer. Just give it a try and then see. This is what I hope to do, but I wanted to give voice to the question anyway, as I think it will be in the minds of many. So I'm sorry, it's a very simple question.
Very good question, Rachel. Very good question. I'm glad you asked. This is the $1 million question, and everybody will want to know that, how to do it. The thing is that, first of all, where there's a will, there's a way. Schumacher College, we pay our bills. We feed our people. We pay the rent. We pay the electricity. We pay the heating. We are not impractical. Where there's a will, there's a way. I have lived 85 years and I have done all what I can do, not for the cash, but in the service of humanity. And I have received the money. Money is only an idea. Money is only a myth. Money is not something real. And the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars and pounds and euros and yens are going around the world. There's no shortage of money. It's your will, your consciousness, your commitment, your dedication. You have to say, I'm going to earn money in the right way. I'm going to earn money with my poetry, with my art, with my culture, with my good gardening. And I'm not going to take any money just which is wasteful and useless and takes my time, which is uncreative, unimaginative. First and foremost, you have to have that courage. If you don't have that courage, you cannot do it. And you have to be prepared to take difficulties. You have to be prepared to face the difficulties, ups and downs. I went around the world for 2.5 years, 8,000 miles walking through deserts, through mountains, through snow, through rain, through Muslim countries, Christian countries, communist countries, capitalist countries, without a single penny. And I ate, and I was clothed, and I had shoes. How did it happen? So things can happen. And many, many great people, they left the palaces. Buddha left the palace. Many, many other people left the palace. And they became spiritual people, spiritual practice. So it's not impossible. You can do it. You need courage. You need to say, I mean, it will not be given to you in a plate. Spirituality is not given to you in a plate. Spirituality is something that you have to be committed to it, and you have to do it. There'll be difficulties, there'll be problems, there'll be hardship, and you have to face it. Like when you are walking, I started to walk from India to America. I had to go 11,000, 12,000 feet high mountains. I had to go through deserts. I had to go through snow. I could not say, how do I do it? If I want easy life, I can go by plane. But the plane will pollute the air. Plane will cause the climate change. So better that I take hardship of walking in the snow, in the desert, in the mountains, and not take a plane and pollute the air and create global warming. Are you prepared to take that hardship? Do you have that courage and commitment and dedication to devote your life? Van Gogh died poor, but we remember him. I think it's better that he died poor than was selling for $40 million his painting and living in luxury and polluting the world. So embrace the simple life, simplicity, elegant simplicity. You can do it. So it needs courage, it needs commitment, it needs the hardship, but you can do it. So it's not easy. It's not easy. But life should not be easy. We are always looking for easy way out. And that is the one curse of the Western civilization. Western civilization wants everything convenient. Everything you push the button, it will happen. That is the way we are polluting the world. We are destroying the world for our convenience. So give up your convenience and be courageous and struggle in your life like Jesus Christ did, like St. Francis did, like Buddha did, like Mahatma Gandhi did, like Satish Kumar did, like Vandana Shiva did. We can all do it. Let's not look for the convenient way, how I can pay the bill and how I can live life in a kind of comfortable way and everything is hunky-dory, everything is smooth and simple. No, this is your consciousness, it's your mindset. When I walk around the world for 8,000 miles, I did not feel any problem. Problem was welcome. I did not feel any difficulty, but when I embrace it, difficulties are no longer difficult. Difficulties are only difficult when you see them as difficult. So embrace the difficulties, embrace the up and down, live simple life, have less money, more work on the land, work on your art, paint, sing, dance, have friends, have family, have good food. Life is good. Nature is generous. It's our convenient desire to live life very conveniently. Everything should be paid for me. I don't have to do anything. That is the kind of curse that Western society is going through. And in exchange, we have destroyed the world. We are creating global warming, climate change, biodiversity going. Everything is convenient, convenient, convenient. Push the button, everything will happen. This cannot happen. Rachel, this is my passionate answer to your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Satish. That was, and to Rachel, that was such a good question, Rachel. I think we will appreciate it.
Big question. Everybody has that question. Big question. But answer is there. We have to take courage in our heart and do something which is the right thing to do, not just because it will pay the bills, so I will do anything. Do not compromise. And in turn of compromise, you pollute the world, you destroy the world, you destroy the humanity, you destroy all the good qualities of life. What is the point? So, unfortunately, we have run out of time. We have to do another session. Come to Schumacher College and we have a lot of time there and have lots of question and answer. Unfortunately, today we don't have any more time.
Such a shame. No, there's just 2 minutes. There's just 2 minutes, but it's so inspiring, Satish, to hear you speak about this curse of convenience. And I think we often forget about that element. I apologize, the rain has suddenly started so strong. Maybe you can hear it in the background. But this curse of convenience, it actually came up in another question from Connie. We probably don't have time to answer it, but she was speaking about how we can incorporate suffering into the suffering of farmers and the suffering of working on the land into our spiritual practice and our relationship with the land.
Yes, I think we can release suffering by mutual support. By mutual support, we flourish mutually. We are not alone. We need to build solidarity. Without solidarity of farmers working together, supporting each other, helping each other, we cannot work on our own. You are, therefore I am. Ubuntu. We had a wonderful Bishop, Tutu, who just passed away. He developed and introduced this African idea of Ubuntu, which means we are, therefore I am. Each and every farmer who is suffering, we need to work together, support each other. At the moment, farmers are very isolated, very disconnected. They are working on their own. There is very little support. They are depending on the government subsidies. I think we need to have solidarity and people need to pay a right price for the food, just price for the good, nourishing, organic, natural, fresh food. We have to create a new movement, just price for good food and solidarity among farmers and peasants, and also solidarity between the eaters, the consumers, and the farmers. Because without the farmers, we cannot consume, we cannot eat. And therefore, we are grateful to our farmers. So we should support them, help them, encourage them, give them our love and solidarity, and that's reduce their suffering. So we can do that if we work together.
Thank you so much, Satish, and thank you to everybody. Sadly, we need to end the call as the Zoom link is going to be used for the next session. But it really was such a huge honor to hear you talk as always, as every time it is, Satish. And thank you to Colm as well, and to all the participants. We had so many people join, over 180 at one point, and I'm sure many people would have been entering and then left. So we would have had much more than 200 or 300 in the room at any moment. So thank you to everybody. And Satish, I'll pass it over to you to perhaps say a last word.
Thank you, Ruby, for your wonderful chairing and facilitating. And I just invite people to visit our Schumacher College website and Growers program. And if you can find a time to come and learn growing, short course, long course, whatever you can do, come and visit us. Thank you.
Wonderful. So thank you, everybody. And I hope you have a wonderful remaining time at the Oxford Real Farming Conference.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.